Hello and welcome. Just getting back from Thought Bubble 2023 and I thought I'd make a quick video. Before I unpacked and got clean and got everything in place, I thought I'd just talk about my experiences there quick and about the books that I got. Thought Bubble is a festival in the northern part of England in the UK. Took me a while to get up there. It took me about 4 or 5 hours to get up there. The traffic issues and stuff like that, driving back and forth. I went up on my own because I didn't really have anyone down here that was interested in going. But then I met up with a few YouTubers and a few people that I talked to online and stuff like that up there, which was really nice to catch up with some of them. It was an overwhelming experience in many ways, but I'll get to that in general. I should say that it's the largest kind of comic convention arts festival that I've been to. I have been to lots of different ones over the years, but nothing on the scale of Thought Bubble. And it is certainly a full kind of arts, comic, sequential art festival. There's definitely not much in the way of kind of, your typical what Comic Con is known as these days in terms of, film and popular culture and music and stuff like that. It is all about kind of artistry, a bit of board games mixed in, bit of kind of posters and art, but nothing really as mainstream as, you would get in the larger scale Comic Cons, some of which happen in the UK, like Telford Takeover in Wales and stuff like that, and the Comic Con in London. But anyway, I've never been too interested in signed books and stuff like that. This is one of the reasons that I've always been put off going to Comic Cons, because I've never really seen a reason to go, because everyone always goes and thinks, oh yeah, I'll get this signed and that signed. And I've never really been bothered because I'm not a speculative seller or buyer really in any way. I kind of just go with what I feel, and I'm a reader first and foremost. I wouldn't even necessarily say that I've got a collection. I've got a kind of library that's ever evolving that I like to read. But I thought I'd take a few books up with me because there was a couple of people up there that I knew I wanted to meet and have a quick chat to, and I thought, right, if I take this I can get them signed, and it's just a way of having a nice quick intro. So it's a bonus that they did it, and for those ones that did kind of add little sketches as well, that's quite nice. But I'll show you the books I took up with me to get signed first before I show you through the purchases I made when I was up there. So the largest book I took up with me was Black Mirror, the Absolute Edition. I wanted to take this up because Jock was up there, and Jock kind of lovingly signed it for me. He said, "For Chris, with thanks, Jock," and a little Batman logo down at the bottom there. I did ask him to draw a few extra pages, but you wouldn't have none of that. Then I took up Volume 1 and Volume 2, or Book 1 and Book 2 of Gideon Falls, because Jeff Lemire was there. Now, Jeff Lemire was there, and he was really gracious in what he signed and what he kind of was, doing for people, really. He was doing lots of sketches and signatures, but he signed Volume 1, as you can see there, but he went a little bit further and actually kind of signed and drew a nice picture of the Black Barn with a ghostly face emanating from the top. It's a lovely little picture, to be fair, and this is one of my favourite Jeff Lemire series. I know a lot of people are kind of iffing and ahhing about this series, whether they like it or whether they don't like it, but for me it's so mental and chaotic but imaginative and interesting and intriguing that I really liked it a lot. Then I took Reckless Volume 1 and Pulp, the little hardback versions of them both, because Sean Phillips and Jacob Phillips was up there, and I thought I'd get them to sign these. And so yeah, I got them to sign that, Sean and Jacob Phillips underneath, because Jacob, his son, did the colouring. He was also selling some nice pages up there, which was really nice. And that was all the books I took with me. I really didn't know what to do, to be honest. There was obviously a few that I could have taken, and there was a few people up there that I could have taken extra, but I was just like, I don't really want to overburden myself, because I knew for a fact that I wanted to purchase some books, and that I wanted to kind of find the creators and talk to them and purchase them. Purchase is what I bought when I was up there. First and foremost, I bought something that wasn't for me. I went to see Sarah Grayley and her other half, Sam. These are both presents for my daughters. One for Betsan, one for Megan, my two daughters. So these are going to be Christmas presents. They won't watch this video. They never watch my videos. Don't worry, don't feel sorry. But she was lovely enough to kind of get them signed and sketched and stuff like that. But they really like Sarah Grayley's art and Sarah Grayley's kind of creativity and things like that. So these were a must, and she was really kind, and she even recorded a little message saying hello to my daughters and stuff like that.
Hi there, Betsan. Hey. It's Sarah Grayling and Steph. Hope you're good.
Particularly my eldest Megan has adored reading and engaging with some of her work, like Donut the Destroyer and a few other books, so that was great to meet her. Then Better Angels by Jeff Jensen and George Scholl, I can never know how to pronounce it. Now, Jeff Jensen was next. I think actually he's going under some form of operations at the moment, so I wish him all the best. I'm not sure exactly what he's going through. But Jeff wrote The Green River Killer that I love, and he's a very talented writer, I think. And yeah, he wrote this book, which is about Kate Warren, who was this first female detective in America. And I've been looking at getting it for ages, and it's always been like one of those books that's been in my Amazon basket or whatever basket on Speedy Ken or Books, etc. And I've never just pressed buy. I've no idea why, but I'm sure you guys have got similar books. I saw George on his stall. He was absolutely lovely. Stay sharp, Chris. Thought Bubble 2023 put on the book. But he was such a lovely guy, fair play, such a lovely guy. I really enjoyed having a chat to him. That was one of the most enjoyable things about Thought Bubble overall, to be honest, is the fact that I could engage with these creators and kind of have a dialogue with them, even though it was just a couple of sentences or a full conversation, a few minutes or lots of minutes. That's what I enjoyed most, because so often where I am in Britain, you know, I read this stuff, I appreciate it, and then it goes on the shelf, I reread it, maybe I'll sell it, maybe I recommend it to someone, but there's no real engagement with the creators behind it, and that's why I quite enjoyed Thought Bubble, and that's probably the most enjoyable thing, is actually meeting the creators, having a dialogue with them, talking to them, finding out about, you know, their reasons for certain things. Yeah, I really enjoyed all the conversations with artists and writers on their stalls around Thought Bubble, to be honest. Zoe Thorogood had a few books there. She signed this hardcover copy of Rain. I was always going to pick this up, and I just saw it as a reason to pick it up when it was there, because I had all the other books she had on sale. I didn't take The Impending Blindness of Billy Scott up with me, which I was planning on, but I forgot to take it, and I basically ended up there, and I was like, oh well, I want to get that anyway, so I bought Rain, and I had a lovely chat with her as well, and her friend who had this mechanised helmet on were again lovely. And I went back to Zoe's store later to have another chat with her about another book, actually, which we'll get to in a bit. Then it was fantastic because I had a book on my shelf called The Man Who Laughs, which is a Victor Hugo book that was adapted by a guy called David Hine and Mark Stafford. Now, I didn't know Mark Stafford was there, but I was on Zoe's stall. I turned around and I saw The Man Who Laughs, and I was like, I love that book, and I love the artwork of that book. That is Mark Stafford who drew it. So I walked over and introduced myself to him. While I was introducing myself, though actually I left it over there. Yeah, while I was introducing myself to him, on the stall next to him was an artist called Tom Gooch. I was on his stall, and he had this amazing kind of piece of art that I just couldn't take my eyes off. I was just constantly looking at it and investigating it. And it was this beautifully kind of detailed, you know, iron kind of metropolis. It was wonderful. And it turns out he lived in Astragunlice, actually. So he lives about half hour away from me. So I went, like Scott, off Scott's shelf, I went a long way to meet people that live up the road from me. But I bought this print off Tom on the stall next to Mark, because Mark was talking to someone else. And then when Mark had finished talking to that other person, I was looking at his books, and I told him how much I admired The Man Who Laughs, and particularly the art style, because the art style is so freaky and wonderful and off the wall, and just, yeah, it was just intriguing. He's one of these artists that have got their own style, and I really like his style. And so he had two books on his stall, one of which was Bad Place, another book with David Hine, and it's a little hardback version. I have no idea what it's about, really. He said it was about a little village, but he did a nice little sketch in it for me. And I enjoyed chatting to him loads, to be honest. It was really nice. And then the other book is basically an anthology collection of all art strips, short stories, Shakespeare sonnets turned into comic form, loads of stuff, all his own kind of comics and creations. And again, because, you know, he's a British comic artist and writer, I wanted to kind of show my appreciation for him, really, by buying more of his stuff and reading it and enjoying it. So yeah, that was great. And I really, really enjoyed talking to Tom and to Mark, actually. They were a pleasure to speak to. when I was on Sean Phillips' stall, I noticed out of the corner of my eye, because I was thinking, oh, have you got anything to sell? I asked him if he got any prints, and he didn't have any print-wise, and there was basically a load of books there, and I had all the books already in one form or another. And then I got out of the corner of my eye, on Jacob's table in front of me, I saw a copy of this, which is definitely something that wasn't for resale, not for sale, advanced reader copy. It's an advanced copy of Where the Body Was, the Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips book that will be coming out as a hardcover soon enough, a kind of standalone tale. Now, I saw this and I was like, oh, can I have it? And they said, yeah, and then they randomly picked the price, which was a little overpriced, to be fair, but I kind of wanted to read it, and it was a kind of the spur of the moment thing, to be honest. I didn't think about it too much. It's a very flimsy book. The cover is really flimsy. The pages are wafer thin. They did sign it for me. But yeah, it's a copy of the book that hasn't been released yet, so I won't be showing you much of this because I don't want to get in trouble, even though they're the ones that sold it to me. But I picked it up and I thought, man, why not? Nice to get in there early and read what their forthcoming book is going to be like, or read their forthcoming book. Then I picked this up, The Most Important Comic Book on Earth, Stories to Save the World, Rewriting Extinction presents. This is an anthology of stories that have been drawn by a whole range of people. I walked past the table and the gentleman who edited it, Paul Goodenough. Now, I don't know if that's his real surname. If that's his real surname, that's an amazing surname. But either way, Paul was super nice. I had a lovely long chat to him. He even subscribed to the channel, which, you know, went a long way to helping me buy this. I'm only kidding. Because ultimately, it was quite an easy sell, really, because just looking through it, all the artistry on display was amazing. I mean, the artists that are in here are just mind-boggling, to be honest. There is such a sheer amount of them. It's ridiculous, to be honest. I won't even bother trying to name them all because, honestly, there's an absolute ton. I'll flick through the book as best as I can to give you an indication of how many are involved. So by buying this book, you are directly helping us change laws, protect species, and restore the damage done to our planet. So it is a charitable purchase, if you want to see it like that, but ultimately I was kind of just captivated by the sheer amount of artistry and writing that was going on, and I was just a bit overwhelmed because I hadn't heard of this book and I hadn't seen it. And when Paul was talking to me for ages, he was really passionate about the project and how it supports Greenpeace, Woodland Trust, Wildlife Trust, and loads of other really exceptionally good causes. So all the money raised kind of gets dispersed in some way, shape or form across those organisations. And yeah, a fabulous book. And it was quite mad, actually. I picked it up, and then as I was walking round, practically every stall I passed, someone had contributed, whether that was writing or whether that was artistry. So Kieran Gillen contributed, he signed, Sarah Grayley signed it, Zoe Thorogood signed it, Paul himself signed it, a load of people signed it, Sean Phillips, loads of people, and I was just like, oh, this is great. And I just generally was really impressed by it, really. John Wagner signed it as well for me, which again, we'll get to John Wagner in a second. But yeah, it was a great book. If you get a chance to buy it, just buy it. Don't think about it too much, because ultimately you are helping a very good cause and being entertained while doing it. These next two were the two that I knew without any shadow of a doubt before going to the con that I was picking them up, because they were the ones that when you were prepping to go to it and to figure everything out, you kind of think, oh, well, who do I definitely want to go and see first? What do I definitely want to pick up? And the first thing was definitely John Wagner's Bogeyman by John Wagner, Alan Grant, and art by Robin Smith. This is a hardback collection of, I think they billed it as like the best-selling independent comic in Britain or something along those lines. But it was the premise of this that I loved. The single issues and trade paperbacks a little hard to get and a little overpriced and things like that when you look on the second-hand market. And yeah, and I love how he wrote, here's looking at you, Chris, which is great. But yeah, I love all that kind of film noir creativity and world. And this is basically following a guy who is mentally ill and is convinced himself he's Humphrey Bogart. And so he's kind of living in Scotland and he's going through these detective stories in his own mind. And this whole premise of a patient being unwell and thinking they're Humphrey Bogart as Humphrey Bogart as a noir detective I was just like, yeah, I'm in on that. I'm in 100%. The premise sounds amazing and the art just looks stunning. Yeah, as the back says, the bogeyman, Scotland's favourite crackpot detective, is on the loose again in this near complete collection of his outrageous cases. Garth Ennis, magnificent lunacy, and yeah, the art just looks lovely and wonderful. It's all black and white, and I really enjoy John Wagner's writing and Alan Grant's writing, and the artistry looks wonderful. And yeah, I really can't wait to get into this. I'm glad I kind of got it because it was on a Kickstarter that I missed, which was kind of the impetus to go to Thought Bubble in the first place. It was that last tipping point that I needed to go, yeah, I'm going to go. I was so glad that I was able to pick it up, because yeah, I really am looking forward to reading this massively. And I don't think it would be that easily gettable in general. The other book that I knew I was going to get was by Lucy Sullivan, and this was called Barking. She had a few printed that were, printed in preparation for its full release next year. And when I was on Thought Bubble's website, Lucy Sullivan's artwork kind of just stood out to me, and I looked into her a bit more, read a few of her bits online, looked at her Instagram, a few other bits I can. I was like, yeah, I really want to pick Barking up. Ultimately, it's following a person who is basically having a terrible year. They're suffering from bereavement. Easily her worst year, Alex Otto. A year since they fished her friend's body out of the river, she finds herself hounded and haunted and driven to the brink. Caught in a situation she cannot explain, Alex is sectioned and left in the hands of an umbrella health system with her delusions running wild. And it's a tale of kind of grief and madness and the ghosts that haunt us, as it says. I really thought this was interesting. The way it was created, the artistry on show, everything about it just seemed chaotic and interesting. And yeah, I really wanted to dive into it and see what it was about, to be honest, and find out more about the whole book and situation. And when I went in, I got Bogeyman first and then went straight to her table, and she was gracious enough to kind of do a wonderful kind of carbon sketch on carbon paper sketch on the front of the book, which is stunning, I think. But yeah, really unique art style and a really unique layout of the book in general. I hope it's as engaging, as interesting as it looks on the surface, because I'm really looking to delve into this deeply, and I'm glad that I was able to pick up one of a kind of handful of copies that were available before general release, which is February next year, I think. I also went to a showing presented by Vice Press and things like that of the Batman 1989 movie in an Everyman theatre, because I thought, I'm going on a little jaunt, I might as well make it a bit more exciting for myself. And so I booked in tickets and went to see Batman in 1989 in the cinema. And everyone attending got these, what they call screen cards and things like that. And they're lovely prints. I love this. And this was one of the reasons that I wanted to kind of go, because this print looked amazing. And I'm definitely going to get this framed and pop it up on the wall. So yeah, that's pretty much all I picked up in Thought Bubble. There is a nice bit, and it's quite mad, really. I've never been to a big Comic Con like that before, and like I say, it was quite overwhelming. I did find it a bit intimidating in different ways. Again, because it was the first time, because I didn't really know what I was doing in many respects. And what I mean by that is how you do it. Do you go to the panels? Do you go around the stalls? Do you go around this? What do I do? After the initial kind of round of stalls, seeing Jock, seeing Sean Phillips, seeing John Wagner and Lucy Sullivan and all these people, I thought, right, what do I do now? And then I was just like kind of rabbit in the headlights, overwhelmed time. I was just kind of wandering around the stalls, not really knowing what to do. And the problem with that is I'm a massive kind of browser. It's like the whole reason that I knew I wanted these books beforehand is because I took a lot of time. Amazingly, you probably don't get it watching my films on YouTube and videos on YouTube, because it seems all quite condensed, like I'm buying loads of books at the same time. But honestly, every book I buy, I spend quite a significant amount of time thinking about it and looking at it and trying to think, is it for me? Even though like sometimes you'll see me like open like about 8 or 10 books in one big go, I've been looking at those books for a significant amount of time. I only go off kind of recommendations really if the art style really grabs me immediately, and if I can get it cheaply secondhand. So if I can like pick up a book really cheaply secondhand, then I'll just dive in and do it. I take a long time to kind of make those decisions, and I procrastinate a lot. And I don't think a Comic Con is a good place for that type of mentality, because ultimately, if you're outside in front of a stall and you've seen something interesting art-wise or book-wise, and you stop to look at it, the artist or creator is right there in front of you. So you kind of feel almost like, if you pick it up and look at it, you almost feel a bit bad if you just put it back and walk away, because they're right there and they're almost thinking, like I would think, oh, what was wrong with it? Why didn't you buy it? And so I kind of overthink that situation, and so I'm less likely to engage with the stall, because I don't want to give the stall holders, you know, false hope in a way. As stupid as that sounds, it's kind of how I felt, and so I didn't really know what to do, so I was just kind of wandering around aimlessly, and I stumbled across a few stalls and had a chat with a few people, but it wasn't really, I just found it a little overwhelming. There was just so much stuff there, and I felt so many kind of self-imposed like restrictions, and the mentality I went in with kind of did affect it a bit. And I suppose going back into that environment time and time again will help me kind of get more comfortable with it and find it a bit easier. The other thing as well is some people were just turning up with like suitcases, literal suit. Like I was outside queuing and people had suitcases, and I thought, oh, they must have just come straight from wherever they've arrived from to the con, and they've just got these suitcases with them, like they've come straight there. I was totally wrong though. The suitcase were full of books and comics to be signed, and it was mad. Like I arrived at Jeff Lemire's table, and there was a guy bagging and boarding just tons and tons of comics that he had brought out of a suitcase just for Jeff Lemire to sign. I mean, a suitcase full of books, and graciously Jeff Lemire signed them all, but I was like baffled by the mentality of it. I was like, however much of a fan you are, it just kind of freaked me out a bit that people went to those lengths. I mean, yeah, and I just made me a little uncomfortable. I have no idea if they're doing it to sell on. I pretty much know from listening to a few people over the weekend that they were just selling them straight on, to be honest. A lot of this stuff was going straight online. But I can't comment on one person or another. They may well just be massive Jeff Lemire fans and want their whole shelf to be signed by him. But either way, it just seemed a bit odd and a bit uncomfortable, because so many people were waiting and their time was so precious that, you know, just people turning up with suitcases. I don't know, I just wanted to have a word with them. I just kind of wanted to go, you know, you shouldn't be bringing a suitcase full, like 10 bucks, 20 bucks, fine. But like over 50, you want to curtail it a bit maybe, but whatever, each to their own. It just made me feel a little uncomfortable, I suppose. The main reason I went there was to engage with the creators and to show my thanks and gratitude and show my support monetarily and, you know, vocally. And I did that, and I enjoyed that bit loads. But then on the Sunday, because I booked in for the 2 days, I didn't even bother going in, because I genuinely I don't know what I'd be going in for. I just don't know what I'd be going in for. It'd be just more wandering and more kind of uncomfortableness. But again, that's more me, I think, than anyone else. I just need to get more comfortable in being in that environment and engaging with people, and, you know, and being far away and being on my own and going away from home in that way was kind of first. I'm normally with my daughters, taking them out, and then I'm in kind of dad parenting mode, or if I'm with work, I'm in work mode. This was for me, and I found that quite difficult in many ways. But anyway, that's by the by. I have no idea if I'll go back again, but it certainly was nice to get what I've got and now find places for it on the shelf and just read through it and just enjoy it for what it is, really. But thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.